Good morning. Okay, we're about to start our study today of the book of Certitude by Baha'u'llah, also called the Kitab-i-Iqan, which I'm pretty sure that's Arabic and not Farsi. We are on page 90, and we are going to read what Baha'u'llah says about the nature of God. So many different paths and individuals, have opinions. They have their opinions. There is no God, or there is a God, or God is this, or God is that. We're going to find out, what does Baha'u'llah say about this? And I'll be giving commentary to the best of my ability. And I would love it if people would challenge me, if you would ask questions, if you would, tell me what you think, because then we could have a dialogue, which would be really fascinating. But I'm just going to go ahead and read this paragraph on page 90. It says, "To every discerning and illumined heart, it is evident that God, the unknowable essence, the divine being, is immensely exalted beyond every human attribute, such as corporeal existence, ascent and descent, egress and regress." So let's talk about, what is that? What is he saying there? Well, he's saying, if you really think about it and purify your mind and your heart, you realize God is beyond our capacity to understand, and that God is not limited by human concepts like having a body. That's fantasy. That the creator of all that is doesn't have a physical body. The creator of all that is created physical matter. Doesn't go up and down, in and out. That these are human ideas. Let's find out what else he says. "Far be it from his glory that human tongue," and we're going to talk about the pronoun, the male pronoun. "Far be it from his glory that human tongue should adequately recount his praise, or that human heart comprehend his fathomless mystery." Okay, let's address the whole pronoun issue. In English, some of these languages, there is no gender to pronouns, or to the pronouns referring to God. But in English there is, and this most of these writings were translated early in the 20th century, and I'm sorry, there's noise outside. It's distracting me. And so the conventions of the English language were used, and we don't change the translations, because that opens up a door where there's really no end to what people are going to change. So we leave it as is, but we understand that God doesn't have gender. That's also ridiculous, to think that God has gender. One time I wrote to our supreme body, the Universal House of Justice, about this issue, and they said, well, you can change the words, or you can change your consciousness. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. I can allow it to bother me, or I cannot allow it to bother me. And for me, that was a very liberating answer. It might not be for you, but for me it was. So it says, and again, I'm going to give a little commentary, that far be it from the glory of God that we could ever understand his fathomless mystery. We can't even understand the nature of an atom, much less the nature of the universe that we live in, the incredibly mind-bogglingly complex universe, never mind its creator. I mean, we're just trying to understand the atom right now. Then he says, he is and hath ever been veiled in the ancient eternity of his essence, and will remain in his reality, everlastingly hidden from the sight of men. We're not ever going to understand this mystery. And being able to accept that, being able to accept our limitations as human beings, is an aspect of spirituality that requires humility and trust. And the development of humility, trust, and acceptance. And those are all good things. But there's so much that we have to think about and to try to understand. You know, we're only gonna succeed in understanding the tiniest little amount as individual human beings, and even as a human race. So I don't think we need to worry about what we're not going to be able to understand. Okay, here's a quote from the Quran. No vision taketh in him, but he taketh in all vision. He is the subtle, the all-perceiving. So that's saying that, you know, no one can see God or understand or comprehend or encompass God. But God, this unknowable essence, comprehends all. Then it says, no tie of direct intercourse can possibly bind him to his creatures. So this is even saying, okay, this gets pretty deep, and I wasn't planning to go into too much today, because this is setting the stage for what Baha'u'llah is going to explain to us about how, since we can't talk directly to God or experience God directly or understand God or describe God, how do we know even that God exists? And how do we know what to do? How do we know how to find our freedom as human beings? And this is what this book is about. This is what part of this book is about. Right now, I'm just reading about the unknowable essence of God to set the stage. So it says, he standeth exalted beyond and above all separation and union, all proximity and remoteness. So that means God is beyond being near, being far, being separate, being not separate. Again, these ideas are human concepts. We're trying to put God in a box. When we say God is within, there's a truth to that. If we say God is without, there's a truth to that. But neither one satisfies the reality because it's human ideas. And God created humanity. So it's something else that we cannot understand. It says, no sign can indicate his presence or his absence. No sign. Whether God exists or not, there's no sign that's going to prove it to us. Inasmuch as by a word of his command, all that are in heaven and on earth have come to exist, and by his wish, which is the primal will itself, all have stepped out of utter nothingness into the realm of being, the world of the visible. Okay. That's pretty heavy. But that's where we have to start, because there are so many fanciful ideas about what God is that have created so much superstition. And people who think rightly say, I don't want any part of this because it doesn't make any sense. And Baha'u'llah is acknowledging that. Okay. And he, in the future paragraphs that I'm going to read, he talks about this issue, and then he talks about what the resolution of this issue is and how to tell the false from the true. And it's very interesting. I find it fascinating because it has allowed me to read the holy books, whether it's the Quran or the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Upanishads, whatever it is. It's allowed me to read the holy books of all the different religions and get an insight into why there are these, what one would think of as superstitious stories. And I've come to terms with that, and I feel really satisfied. And that's because of this book, because Baha'u'llah has really broken it down. So I hope you'll join me again and have a beautiful day. God is most glorious.